Now in session, Lidia the Lawyer presiding.
Order in this courtroom set. Please be seated, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Lidia show. The calendar, that's always the first thing the calendar call. The first thing, and the only thing actually on the calendar today, is we're going to be discussing everything bullying. And what that means is we're going to talk about what it is, who it affects, how it affects individuals, and what's being done to stop and prevent it from happening, not only in school, which is typically where people focus on bullying, but also in the workplace. So joining me today, we have some wonderful guests. First over here, we have Paul Ceramello, Senior, correct?
Right, yeah, because I only have a junior that's about 8 inches taller than I am. Where he came
Only
from,
seniority in maybe age, that's all. And then over here we have Danny, energetic.
There you go.
Rivera. Yes, and there's a whole history behind that name.
Yeah.
And you're affiliated with the town of Brookhaven.
Correct.
And you are the founder of AMA, which is called Asking Myself Association.
We actually both are.
You're both
My
founders.
father and Kelly J too, yeah.
Okay, your father being Eddie.
Eddie Rocky Rivera.
Yes.
And Kelly J Jackson, yes.
All right, so all of you. We were hoping to have everyone on board, but unfortunately, everyone's schedule's busy, but
Yeah.
you guys are wonderful representatives.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And here to my left is the very beautiful Rachel Goldsmith. She is currently the reigning Miss Teen Metropolitan New York International. She will be competing in the Miss Teen New York International competition on October 4th up at the Villa Roma up in the Catskills. And she is here to give a perspective of bullying from a teen's point of view, which I think is very important because we'll get into this in a few minutes, but what I see is that adults have no idea what's going on with the kids and in their heads. See, you're way younger than me or us, so your perspective is closer to her perspective. And I have a feeling we're gonna get some really great information about what's working, what's not working, and so on and so forth. All right. So first things first, Danny. What is AMA, which is Asking Myself Association?
Asking Myself is an anti-bullying association, and AMA is actually, I like to make it short for AMA, oh man, how can I say this? AMA is basically short for, in Spanish, amor, for love.
Oh, AMA, of course. See, over there in Spain all the time.
Yeah. So that's why I did that, and I'm like, what can make peace and love, and you know what I liked about the whole idea of me making Asking Myself is when people at their lowest points in life, I sit down and I just ask myself, I'm like, asking myself. Like, I ask myself, what's going on? How can I make a change? And how can everything, come together the same way? So that's what I kind of look at.
All right. Now, I know
Asking
that.
myself.
Now, tell me a little bit about the organization itself. Now, I know, John, you are one of the founders, like you had just said.
Right.
How did this come to be? Now, this is.
I came out of a few different areas, so I'll just touch on that briefly. Okay? Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I'm the National and Suffolk County Commissioner of Boy Scouts of America. Okay, so therefore,
You deal
the
with our
Boy
youth.
Scouts start from 11, and once they reach 18, they then can go on to Junior Scout Master or whatever if they want it, but they are no longer. Okay, so I deal with that age. And then I work in a therapeutic residence beside the town of Brookhaven. I work for the state, and I've been there almost 10 years. And that works with the same age group, 11 to 18. So I have certifications with the state. So I know that age very well. So in the town of Brookhaven, I came across this young man, or he came across me, because he's very outgoing. We're both very outgoing.
Yes.
And, he would come and talk to me, and we got, along pretty well. I used to hear his songs. He would play them for me on our iPads and things like that. So. And then he explained to me what he was doing, with this anti-bullying and the program that he was interested in. So it really is his idea. And then I said, wow, boy, if I could help you in any way. So it evolved with him explaining to me what he wanted to do. And
From idea to
let
concept
it go.
to actually forming an organization that
Right.
actually has some legs now.
That's right.
Right?
And
Okay.
getting it out into the schools and getting it out into with the public figures that I know and seeing where it would take us.
So let's talk a little bit about now. Were you bullied? Is this
Yes.
how this whole thing
Well, the
happened?
thing
What
is-
happened with you? Because there has to be a story.
I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna tell you guys. Basically, in high school, I'm a special ed student. I have issues writing, reading, and And a lot of people always put us down, always made fun of us, and always bullied us. My best friend, Kevin Clark, that right now, I see like what bullying does to people too, like and torments them even when they get older and they get to the stage of even in work. And I had experiences in my job where they call me stupid, they would make fun of me, they would laugh at me because of certain, you know, because of my disabilities. And I started just, one day I just sat back and I just told my dad, I said, listen, I'm going to ask myself. He said, what does that mean? I said, I said, I think it's time for somebody to actually step in and actually try to make the workplace a little bit more comfortable for people and making people understand what's going on with their rights.
So
At
it
an older
started out
age.
with bullying at the workplaess. It wasn't at school.
No, in school it started off, and then it stemmed off, and then it stemmed off.
Continued into the workplace, transitioned into there.
And then it stemmed off, and really made. And the funny thing is, it was like patterns. Like back in school, we would get laughed at because we were supposedly different than everybody else, and then all of a sudden I started seeing the way that I started getting treated at the job. Like
You're back in school.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Right.
So that's why I sat down I actually sat down and I was just like, I think it's time for us to actually make a visual and making people to understand that everybody goes probably through the same situation, and if we all work together, we can actually make the problem actually come up with a nice solution and actually try to help everybody out and expand it. And that's what AMA still stands for peace and love.
So you did something, right? You created something visual?
I wanted to, yeah.
You did the video.
I did. I wanted to.
Which brings me to, we have the video, and I'm proud to say that our viewers are all going to now have a chance to see your video. It's about 3 minutes, and I watched it, and it was very touching, and it was very wonderful. So Mike, if you could play that video for us, and then we'll talk about it as soon as we're back.
Hi, my name is Danny Energetic Rivera, and I'm basically setting up a program for work bullying, helping out people that have been bullied at work. It is a very big problem, people. People got to understand. It's time for you to take charge of your own life. Even if you get made fun of because of you have disabilities. I have been made fun of for that. I have been laughed at my jobs for that. That's why I made this program, to help you out, because I don't want you guys to feel the same way I do. We're basically helping out everybody that has been work bullied, made fun of, laughed at because they can't speak proper English. I'm here to help everybody out, okay? It's called Asking Myself. And listen, please support, because you know what? I know this happens in everyday lives. Everybody's just like, oh, but this is a really big problem, and it really has to be stopped. And I'm going to show everybody the video right now.
Look at it! Whoa! Pick it up! Hey!
Going to sleep at night, working a full-time job, trying to pay the bill. Things are getting on.
I need someone to pay my bills.
Coming home angry, asking myself why haven't I made it? Haven't I made it? Haven't I made it? The passion for this music keeps me grinding. I wanna shine like a diamond. Why ain't I rich now? That's a question I ask myself. Why ain't I rich now? That's the question I ask myself.
Do your job. Let's get it done.
My lady don't love me no more. My sister wanna kick me out. People making empty promises, and I feel like talent don't count. Every day is a challenge when you're living life unbalanced. Asking myself, why haven't I made it? Why haven't I made it? The passion for this music keeps me grinding. I wanna shine like a diamond.
What are we gonna do now? I need someone to pay my bills.
Like that? I lost my job, and that's how you do it?
Yeah, that's your job.
Alright, I'll ask myself. People, it's time for everybody to take a stand. If you get made fun of and you get bullied, I want you just to remember this. Ask yourself.
All right, we're back. So everyone had a chance to see that fabulous
man,
video that you
everybody
performed.
loved it.
And I noticed that the refrain on the video is asking myself, and you're repeating that a lot, which obviously goes back to the name of the organization and what your message is, you know? Let everyone stop and say, what's going on? What am I doing to someone, or what's happening to me?
Exactly.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, solutions.
I know.
It's kind of a
I
little
love
bit
that.
of a program, like when we go to schools, I would come out and I would more or less, I'm going to lose the young ones. So
Young, how old?
Well, I'm going to say, let's say, no, 14, 15,
All right, 'cause
and
she's
younger.
13.
And younger.
Right.
You're not even,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm really talking to the teachers and the parents. And then after I'm done and introducing him and that video's behind
Yeah.
us, then he
He's
comes
now a
out.
celebrity. He's a
Comes out.
superstar.
He doesn't have his, basically what he wears, his cap,
Yeah.
and then his jacket. And then
Okay.
they all get excited.
I feel like
Right.
I feel like a lot of times when when he speaks, I'm very just happy to actually see, like, basically I call, like, a lot of people say I'm like a new era, like, leader for the kids to look up to, because I
think
want
it's
them
great.
to look past, like, the diamonds, the cars, even in music and entertainment. I feel like entertainment can actually bring a lot more to them with substance, and then make them understand and make them realize what's going on in the day of time. So when they get older, it can prevent them from actually going through the same situation that I went through.
Well, which we're going to talk to Rachel in a minute about all of the efforts that the schools are taking, or at least, again, this is just her school, like you mentioned earlier, and how a lot of the efforts are not really effective. And I want to get your thoughts in a minute about what Danny just said about his performance and how you think that you would react to that. But before we do that, since I'm Lidia the Lawyer, I have to educate.
No, she's.
I think it's important that we all understand what bullying is. I think bullying has become very diluted. I think the word it just encompasses everything and everyone. And I think it's unfortunate because you can't prevent bullying if it doesn't have a clear, concise definition. So there's two definitions I want to talk about. Well, actually just one. In particular, it's under the New York State education law, because we're talking about school bullying, which happened to you. And you've had some instances, or maybe it's just mean girls, but there's a lot of issues that happen with school, with socialization. So the intent of the law, obviously, is basically to afford all students in the public schools an environment free of discrimination and harassment. They do not use the word bullying in this particular statute until you go into the definition. And that was just recently modified. So Section 11 of Subdivision 7 of the Education Law, and I'm going to read it but paraphrase it a little bit. So definition, you ready? Harassment and bullying. So they actually encompass both those words interchangeably, which it is what it is. I mean, look, the statutes regarding harassment have been on the books forever. So now they're incorporating that. But anyway, harassment and bullying shall mean the creation of a hostile environment by conduct or by threats, intimidation, or abuse, including cyberbullying, and then there's 4 different subdivisions under that. One is has or would have the effect of unreasonably and substantially interfering with a student's educational performance, opportunities or benefits, or mental, emotional, or physical well-being. That's pretty broad. That's very broad.
Yeah.
The next one be reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause a student to fear for his or her physical safety. That's pretty obvious. That's the typical, schoolyard bully. The big kid with the small kid, remember? Or even like
Of
a Christmas
course.
Story, remember the bully?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right. Then we have C.
Give me your lunch money.
Exactly. Reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause physical injury or emotional harm, so it's physical or emotional harm, to a student. And then finally, this is the one that I didn't realize until I did this research. It occurs off school property. Okay, so you could be at a party where a bunch of your friends are hanging out at someone's house, right? And creates or would foreseeably create a risk of substantial disruption within the school environment, where it is foreseeable that the conduct, threats, intimidation, or abuse might reach school property. So if something happens off property and it might kind of come back to school, that could be found under this statute, okay? So that's basically saying acts of harassment and bullying shall, of course, include but not be limited to, you ready? The acts that are based on a person's actual or perceived race, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practice, disability, sexual orientation, gender, or sex. And for purposes of the definition, threats, intimidation, or abuse shall include verbal and nonverbal actions. So I have to tell you, this is pretty broad, right? Now, this is under the education law, so everyone out there, if you're ever wondering what the definition of bullying is as far as the schools are concerned, take a look at the education law in particular. Like I said, it was subdivision 11, right? Did I just say that? Yeah, section 11, subdivision 7 of the New York education law. All right. So I think it's important that we understand that, because what's happening right now, and this is one of the things I want to talk about, schools. I think the parents are starting to turn everything into bullying. And I don't think that's good for bullying or for anti-bullying, correct?
Well, the thing is, what I was telling, if you ever seen one of my other videos, and is that parents, the kids feel like sometimes when parents are being too strict, that's bullying. Or if the parent or the kid's not listening and disobeying the parents, it's called bullying. So I do agree on you a lot of times when the parents do try to turn into a lot of things with bullying.
Right, Rachel, let me ask you a few questions. So, you know, when you hear the word bullying, like before what I just read this, I mean, what was your perception of what bullying is in, you know, in your school?
Well, I would more perceive it as people trying to make another person feel lower than them or try to feel power over them by saying or doing mean things, by either talking about them, talking directly to them, using hurtful words, making up rumors about them. And it changes a lot with boys and girls in all honesty, because with girls, there's a lot more talking about, there's a lot less physical conflicts, because there's a lot more physical with boys because they like to fight things out most of the time, and I know from experience.
Right.
And girls, what they like to do is they like to talk about each other, they like to make up rumors about them, talk to them and tell them things, make their self-esteem go down, just things like that.
Well, what's interesting is that, you know, a lot of things that you said, I think, you know, what we as parents, I can't say me, I'm perfect. No, no, but seriously, parents, they have to focus on civility, okay? They have to teach their kids about not being mean, okay? Do you know what I'm saying by that?
Morals
That's
and
not,
respect.
it's respect, it's
And
about,
morals.
correct, and morals. So
That's
all
what
of this
this-
legislation and
That's
everything.
what this young generation is lacking.
That's what they're
Morals
lacking.
and respect.
So there's an article that came out in the New York Times. This was just this past it was about a year ago. And this woman, Emily Bazelon, she was basically talking about how the word bullying, okay, we don't even know what it means anymore, okay?
Exactly.
It seems to be talking about, you know, everything from appalling violence. So you have some of the people that, you know, really genuinely, like we were talking about, the instances of bullying, up through a few mean words. Because like I said earlier, the parents will go to the schools and say, my kid's being bullied, but they're not being bullied. They're maybe not being spoken to kindly, and perhaps, you know, there's a fine line, but I think the kids also have to be taught by their parents how to be more resilient also. You know, the old sticks and stones, John.
That's the big
Paul.
problem right now, is because the families are not together, and there's not being anything taught by the parents. There's no sitting down and eating dinner. Or
Right.
you see it, we see it. But what I'm saying, in general, people are not respectful like we used to when we grew up
Well, I
because
think the
of that
parents are more
reason.
tolerant. The stuff that I see,
Oh,
some
they're
of
letting
these
them get
parents
away
are
with
letting
it,
their
you mean?
kids get away with some of this
Yeah,
stuff. I mean, come on.
okay.
And I have to tell you, like when you're on the baseball field or softball field and you see the way these parents are, the kids are talking to their parents, our parents would have never tolerated that. First generation
I can
Polish
see that
immigrant.
from experience. Like I was at a party, and there were parents that were chaperoning, and their daughters, the way they were speaking to them, even me, even though I'm in this generation, I was kind of saddened by the way that she was talking to her mother, because I would never speak to you
never.
like that, and
Never.
the things she was saying and these words she was using towards her was disrespectful, and it should not have been allowed by her mother, and she was just taking it. She didn't even say, don't say that to me or anything. She took it and
Right.
kind of
Well,
laughed
because
at it.
maybe some of the parents want to be their kids' friends, and it's more important for them to be maybe socially accepted. Who knows, right?
Well, but I was gonna say is a lot of times I feel like the young generation lost a lot of innocence, and a lot of things are coming out more. So I think a lot of times it makes them actually go a little bit off the edge to seeing like basically. When she was saying like with the parents and getting like disrespected, like my parents would not tolerate that. That's why I came from. I told you morals, respect, and understandings. And the thing is, I want to just put it out to everybody, even the young kids. You got to start respecting your elders, because your elders ain't trying to harm you and not trying to hurt you. They're just trying to make you understand what's going on and the mistakes that they done in the past. They just trying to basically prevent you from that happening. So that's all I wanted to say.
No, I think that's so important, and I love that. That's why I want to work with you guys with regards to this issue, because I think that the effect of bullying is so powerful. I mean, think of the effects that bullying has. And again, I'll use harassment, intimidation, bullying.
There
I
you
don't care
go.
what you want to call it.
It's
the same stuff.
Thing. It's
Or
PH-13.
even-
That's bullying.
right.
PH-13. That's
Even
how I
whether
look
it
at
be violence, physical violence, which would be, really a dramatic kind of, the extreme, but also just the mean girls and guys, that shouldn't be happening either. Civility.
Peace.
But let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
You've been to schools before, correct?
A lot.
Have you been to middle schools?
A lot.
Okay.
That's actually the most.
Okay.
I've been through.
What do you do? You said that you'll bring him. You'll play the video.
Right.
You'll bring him out, and the kids are kind of clapping. They think
They're
he's.
excited to see him.
Do you-
After that video, especially, and.
Do you speak to the kids?
Yes.
All right.
I speak them from my heart. Yes. I
From the
speak to
heart.
them.
Do you tell them the story you told them about your childhood
I
and
tell them
how
about
you were?
childhood. I explain that to them, and I explain a lot of times you can go the right way, you can go the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You can take your experience wrong, or you can make it something better. I made my experience something 10 times better to show everybody out there that basically, if you're getting picked on, laughed at, we can just say bullied,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the easiest term. You go through certain experiences, certain ways that you can actually make it a lot better, and you can make people realize and not go to the same situation that you went into. See, that's what I'm trying to show everybody, and I'm just trying to make everybody realize a lot of times your actions will speak louder than words.
All right, Rachel, ready? 13 years old. She's going into 8th grade. Do you feel that if you see that type of presentation, that's going to have an impact on you? And be honest, because well, first let me do this. Let me withdraw that as counsel here. What does the school do? What type of programs or anything does your school do to try to prevent bullying in school?
Well, the main thing that they do is they have these assemblies where they bring everyone into the auditorium, and they usually have someone or a group of people come in, and they just kind of talk to us. And I feel like
Not someone like him, though.
no,
Okay.
just someone kind of comes in and just says,
adult usually?
yeah, an adult
Yeah.
just says
Couple
the
words.
average stuff that we've all heard a million times, like
Right.
all about
Is it
what
is
it
it
is.
effective?
Not at all.
Let me
We're
explain.
all
No, not even
forgetting
us.
about it. No one takes
Not
it
even
us.
anymore. Yeah, no one takes it seriously
Counselor.
anymore.
Let me
Anybody
explain
like
you
this?
why. It's
Like-
because they're not coming up with the solution. They're coming up basically with statistics. See, this is what I tell everybody. I say you're gonna go and basically take that kid that was bullying the other kid, right? And you're not trying to figure out the solution why the kid is actually bullying that kid. Like I call it the other side of the coin. Why don't you figure out this problem and then try to make the solution with everybody? See, other people sit there, talk for hours, saying, I've been this, I've done. Why don't you actually show them actually experience and actually bring the person up that's actually getting bullied the worst inside the school to make the school actually realize this is at home. That's what I try to do. When I go and talk to the kids, I bring them up on stage. I want everybody to feel like, you know what? We can make a different kind of, we can just basically make the solution. We can make a different kind of effect, and let's everybody just work together. We don't, that's what schools are missing too. I feel like a lot of times is
See, why I took
everybody
this
is
guy?
narrow out.
All right.
Well, why do you think, Rachel, or I should say, what do you think would be the most effective way that students can be educated, informed, and influenced not to bully and not to be mean?
I feel like what would be really effective and what would speak to us and kind of make us all realize would be someone closer to our age that really understands, that
Right.
doesn't have
Like Danny, right? Yeah.
that doesn't have just statistics like, oh, I was bullied as a kid and one in, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, 600,000 kids.
to one.
Yeah. That just bringing up a bunch of random statistics and just saying, oh, this this is bad, it hurts everyone's feelings, and we're all getting really kind of annoyed about it, because I feel like I've seen it firsthand that whenever they say, oh, we're going to have another assembly today and it's going to be on bullying, everyone kind of groans and they're all like, I've seen it a million times, because everyone seems the same. There's nothing special about any of them that makes us remember anything. And I feel like there's just sometimes there's just mean people that have a natural feeling of wanting to hurt another person, and sometimes you can't really fix that, but you can talk to people and you could try to figure it out, and you could really talk to everyone and make everyone realize that we have to try to work past it.
Right.
Because sometimes we're all just getting sick of it. And in all honesty, like I appreciate that the schools are trying to help us and like bring in these assemblies, but they don't understand that it's not helping.
Like
it's not
the
interesting.
Same thing over and
Yeah.
over.
So all
and
of you
over
administrators
and
out
over
there,
and
listen.
over again.
It's like watching the
And-
same movie
and
10 times.
Exactly,
in
and
a
it
day.
doesn't. And the thing is too is someone could talk to you, but you got to bring a visual. You got to make the kids like, yo, wow. When I seen that, I can't understand. Like that's what's been going on in my life. Like you got to connect with them. A lot of these times, because I seen it all the time. Like, when we used to go to the assemblies, it's like, okay, can we skip this? Like another class,
it's
like
people talking. They sit there, they talk, they go on their phones. They're just
Right.
kind of like, really, this again, like, and I'm gonna be honest. We kind of laugh at the people sometimes, because sometimes they do really silly
lie.
stuff.
We used to sit there. We used to sit there.
Yeah,
we used to write,
sometimes
like,
they do
Right,
silly
throw
stuff.
spitballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
Well,
like,
you know what? No one would ever laugh at you, Danny. I got to tell you, because like I said, the video is very powerful. You're a great personality. I'm going to transition just for a second because we're running out of time. Can you
Okay.
believe how quickly this is going?
Oh, you know
well, I
what?
want to mention
It's
one
smooth.
thing.
No,
You ready?
thank you for having us.
We're not even. Wait, 2 seconds. You ready? We're
Go
talking
ahead.
about workplace bullying. Well, there is no bullying. Excuse me, I should say bullying is not illegal in New York.
Yeah.
All right. There's no legislation anywhere that prevents bullying in the workplace. New York is what's called an at-will state, which means
yep.
unless you're in a protected class or maybe part of a union, you could be treated like you know what, and it doesn't matter. So I just wanted to mention that there is legislation that's pending, the Healthy Workplace Bill,
yeah.
that was just recently, as a matter of fact, I think it was in April, is now going to the Senate committee. So everyone stay tuned and see. Maybe there's going to actually be some remedy that if there is, again, as it's defined in that particular bill, bullying, that maybe we'll get a little bit of relief. But I do know that the biggest part of that legislation is that individuals will be able to sue the other individual, so individual against individual, for the actual damage that's caused. It's going to be interesting, and as a lawyer, I'm fascinated by that. Maybe that should become my next forte. Now, let's just revert back. Now, Rachel, you launched a website. It's called youwillbeok.com. And what the focus is on teen sadness and depression. And one of the reasons why you launched it was why?
Well, I launched it because I have a very personal connection with that, because I went through a period in my life where I was really down and I didn't really know what to do, and I felt like there was just no one to really turn to. And kids don't really always want to bring it to their parents because they're either embarrassed or scared, or they just don't really want to talk to them about it. So I feel like I needed to make a place where everyone can know that they're not alone, and that it happens to a lot of people, and that if you are feeling down,
So-
that is just immaculate.
For everyone out there, please visit, www.youwillbeok.com, and it's on Facebook also. And you have a Facebook page as well?
Yeah, it's Asking Myself AMA. It's a like page right now because right now we're actually working
So that's on
the
Facebook as
websites.
well?
Yeah,
So just type in Asking Myself
Myself
Association, AMA.
AMA. So
If
you
anyone
can
wants to get in
definitely
touch with either of you, then they can go through either Facebook or through these websites. And I just want to say that I'm really proud of both of you, and
you.
good luck in your competition, which will be again in October up at the Villa Roma. Knock 'em dead. And you, I'm whatever I can do to help. Maybe you guys, there's a synergy here. Maybe somehow you could
I
work
would love
together,
to actually help
do an
out,
appearance,
'cause
do
I like
something
that.
together.
I definitely like that.
Because you know what the effect of bullying is?
Yeah.
Or even not bullying, and we're using that term loosely. It's teen sadness and depression. And depression it's a clinical word. So depression, it's very technical. It may not be depression. It may just be sadness and feeling alone and feeling bad about yourself. So Rachel's going to be standing up for all those teens that feel like, you know what, they're not in a good place. So there's a place to go and they can visit and at least feel like they're a little better about everything. So anyway, now we really have to go. So I just want to say thank you, all of you, for joining me and for my audience out there. We welcome you to go to thedailyblue.com. If there's any part of this show that you might have missed or you want to see again, we welcome you to visit there and check back in every Tuesday at 2:30. Whether you see a new show or a rerun, we will be here. And remember to go check your ordinary at the door. Go live that remarkable life. And we'll see ya. Thank you.
Okay.
See you guys later.